School Board Forum. If you just joined us, if you were here earlier, we're going to use the same format. Everybody will be given 30 seconds to open, make an opening statement, 1 minute to close. We will allow candidates to follow up on questions. They will be given the opportunity to respond to a question. If when asked a question, the candidate will have 2 minutes. Again, the other candidates will be able to respond. And remind me, if one candidate mentions another in an answer, you will also, that'll give you an opportunity to respond there. Again, we have our wheel here with the numbers, and they will be picking random questions. The questions were in a group with the Republican Party, Union County Republican Party, and Union Town's Tea Party that created these questions. So we'll get started. Thank you. First, our candidates here tonight is number 1, Jana Akins and Cindy Byers, Troy Collins, and Andrew Smith. And this is for Union County School Board. So we will go in this order, 30 seconds for an opening statement. Mr. Troy Collins, would you please open for us?
Yes, my name is Troy Collins. I've been in education for the last 30 years. I think I bring a unique quality for the board, elected, and I appreciate your vote.
Mr. Andrew Smith.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Like you said, I'm Andrew Smith, born and raised here in Union County, part of the Dyer clan, so my entire family hails from here. Recent graduate from Union County High School just 4 short years ago, so I feel that I can offer an interesting perspective to our school board and represent our student body. And also, over the last year and a half, I've worked with our teachers as a substitute teacher. And I've really been able to work with them and hear some of their concerns and some of their praises for our school system. So I would love to represent our students and our teachers as well.
Jana Akins.
My name is Jana Akins. I live here in Blairsville, of course. I've lived here all my life. I was born and raised here. I'm a product of the Union County school system. I have children in the Union County school system. I have a child that will be in the Union County school system eventually. I'm really proud of what our school system has accomplished, and I think that I have a unique perspective and ability to continue the success that our school has gained.
Okay, we'll open up again, candidates. You have 2 minutes when you're asked a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Just checking you out there. Get a little late. My apologies. Cindy Byers.
I am Cindy Byers. I'm actively sitting on the Board of Education right now. I've been serving 3.5 years. I have 3 children. One is still in the school system. I have 2 graduates of Union County. I think we all look at this uniquely. I have a child that's gifted. I have a child that was special education. I have a child that was regular education. So I can relate to teachers, parents, administrators at different levels because I have dealt with the different levels. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. I have from number 1 to 8 on the wheel, and we're going to use the same numbers that you drew for opening statements. So, Mr. Collins, you get the first question, 1 through 8. Okay, the way this reads is, what would be your criteria for raising taxes for education?
The children, the students come first. And we rise with taxpayers. There's ways to maybe cut some things, make it more efficient. But we'd like to avoid raising taxes if at all possible. The children come first.
Okay, anybody else? You're welcome to respond to that.
I'm currently serving as a board member, and in the 3.5 years I've been on board, We have either kept the tax rate the same or reduced the tax rate the last 3.5 years. I want us to continue that trend. I want us to do more with less and try to be very fiscally conservative with every dollar we receive. Thank you.
Anyone else? You have 30 seconds if you'd like to before we move on. Okay. Andrew Smith.
Let's do 2, please.
Mr. Smith, when we hear about the need for better student achievement, many Democrats suggest the answer to be increasing teachers' salaries. What's your position?
When it comes to our teachers and the achievement of our students, there's a lot to be said about that. Teachers are very underpaid in many situations. But also, judging a teacher's salary and pay on the achievement of their students, I believe, is not a fair thing to do as well, because currently we have classes that are gifted classes and the students who struggle. And so when we have teachers that have a class full of high achievers getting better pay, but then also classes full of students who are of lower achievement, and those teachers' pay is also being reflected. Student achievement and teachers' pay should not go quite hand in hand, but that teacher's heart and their teacher's pay is what matters most. It's which teachers of ours are pouring their heart into the students, no matter the amount of achievement that that child is gaining, but more the love and the character that that student's learning from that teacher.
Would anybody else like 30 seconds to respond to that? Okay, moving along, number 3 here, Jenna Akins. I have 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8.
I'll take 3.
How would you resolve potential budget shortfalls? Make cuts or raise taxes?
I think that shortfalls are always a possibility. I think that if you are faced with a situation where you have a shortfall, you can't just not act. You can't just not educate the children. You can't decide, not to send the kids to school or not to provide the programs and the things that they need. If your child is hungry and you don't have money, the answer is don't feed the child. You can't do that. So I think you're going to have to find ways that you've got a budget shortfall. You're going to have to find ways to cut programs and figure out what's necessary, what's most important, and how we can use the money that we have most efficiently.
We'd like to hear maybe all the candidates respond for 1 minute on that, if you don't mind. You have up to 1 minute. How would you resolve potential budget shortfalls, make cuts, or raise taxes? I think everybody would like to hear that answer.
Well, personally, I feel that we would have to look everywhere that we could to cut. You get back down to your basics. What are the basic requirements that we have as a system that we need to provide for these children to be successful long term? And the extra items have to be eliminated. It's unfortunate there are going to be times that we're going to have downfalls, but we have to be aggressive in providing the basic education, but I hate to say it, eliminate any frills.
And I agree more or less with Cindy. I think there should be a third option on that also, that we wouldn't be able to cut certain things, not cut them necessarily, but to streamline some things, maybe cut some waste, and that would be the third option.
And everything that we spend money on, no matter how large the organization or how small the organization, there's always something that can be trimmed down. This would take countless hours of just putting a microscope to every little part of our school to see what we can do in order to save money. But also, we need to put as much energy into looking at alternative ways to make money other than raising taxes, but also looking into grants or other things that we could apply for to just grow certain areas of our school so that we can cut those areas because we have the the grants to help us build that section. So it's just countless hours of dedication being poured into looking at every single corner and not letting who we know in our school system or who we favor in our school system affect the decision that might upset somebody in our school system or even in our community. So there's countless hours of looking at everything we have.
Okay, now, Ms. Cindy Byers, I have a 1, 4, 5, 6, and 8.
Give me 5.
Who do you consider runs the school system? The superintendent or the Board of Education?
Give me 6. Okay. Let me look and see who all's here tonight. No, seriously, the way that the system is set up is the school board is supposed to run the school. The superintendent, assistant superintendent answer to the board. That is the way that it is designed. Just 2 months ago, we appointed a new superintendent that's coming June 1st. I'm very excited about this because he is the type of leader that I think our school will flourish over the next 5 years. The only thing that I regret is that he didn't start before the election because I think it will be amazing whenever people meet him and see what he can bring. So I think the dynamics of the board and the relationship between the board and the superintendent is fixing to make some really steps forward that I think even in the community you're going to be able to see. He is a very open and has brought up some great ideas of keeping board members informed of the day-to-day activities that unfortunately right now we're not. Thank you.
30 seconds for all the candidates, please, to answer that. Who do you consider runs the school system? The superintendent of schools or the Board of Education?
I actually would disagree with that. Our school board is not to run the school. That is up to our superintendent and our assistant superintendent. The school board is elected by the taxpayers of Union County to ensure that their tax dollars are being spent wisely. We are to represent, per se, our shareholders. We are not to implement policies that changes the way a teacher teaches because, quite frankly, we don't have that education, that knowledge on what programs work. We've not worked in past schools as administrators, running entire school systems, but we can definitely help add to those decisions that our superintendent makes.
The superintendent runs the school, but he answers to the school board. The final decision goes with the boss of the superintendent.
The Georgia Constitution is actually very clear about who runs the school system. The Board of Education is responsible, the school board members on the Board of Education are responsible for the management and control of the system. It's up to the superintendent to handle those day-to-day activities, but the day-to-day activities should be a manifestation of the visions and the goals and policies that the school board has set out.
Okay, thank you, candidates. Now we're going to start again. We have 4 more questions. We're going to start with, again, Troy Collins. I have a 1, 4, 6, and 8. What projects would you like to see in the next eSplosh?
Right now, none. I think the school board that we presently have has done a really good job of paying as we go. Our system, the buildings are now in good shape. I do not foresee anything at this time that would require another eSplosh, although something may come up that would benefit the children and the community itself, student children.
30 seconds for all candidates to respond to eSplosh, please.
Definitely agree with that. We have some amazing facilities. Just so many that have opened up in just 4 years since I graduated school. Having that eSplosh, I personally believe, is a great thing for our school. I know a lot of people do not. But right now, we don't need to start implementing new things, but using that to grow and make our other programs and our other structures better. Because at the end of the day, if we don't use that, it's going to just go back to the state. So we want to make sure we do use it, but just really strategically plan how we're going to use it.
I think the eSPOS is a source of funds from perhaps other people passing through the community that contribute, that we have a source of income that doesn't rest entirely on the taxpayer. So going forward, I would say that there are still projects to be had. My little third grader goes to school in the building that my senior citizen father graduated from. I mean, there are things that need to be repaired. Perhaps they're done before I would take office. I'd have to get in and see what is needed and necessary.
Well, the eSPOS is a great way to fund repairs, upgrades, changes to buildings that is not just on the taxpayer. Tourists, anyone coming through the county help pay for that by having that 1%. With that being said, we have done a good job, I feel like, paying as we go. We're currently, the school board is in line to finish all of the projects on the eSPOS, not have to leave one of them standing. However, we have building issues at the elementary. We have no air conditioning in the gym. It gets up to over 90. There are definite issues that we need to address.
Okay, Mr. Smith, our next question. We have 1, 6, and 8.
8, please.
Will you require the superintendent to provide an itemized budget for review by the board?
To require one person to supply something of that magnitude, I think, is a little irrational. The superintendent can definitely offer many great ideas about that, but I would rather our superintendent focus on the programs and ideas that grow our student. Like I said earlier, the school board represents the taxpayers, and the school board should be the one to help make that budget and not require the superintendent to spend those countless hours of dedication when it comes to the money, but to spend his hours of dedication to the students of our school and our teachers of our school.
Can we get everybody to respond to that, please, for 30 seconds at least?
I think in making any kind of decision, you've got to make an educated decision. I personally wouldn't want to vote for anything if I didn't know all the information. The school board is only as good as the information that's provided. So if I'm going to be responsible for a school's budget, then I want to know what's in it. I think that absolutely that's information that I would want to know, and that every board member would need to know.
Yes, I do so.
Okay, the superintendent has staff that provide the data, and you have, as a board member, you are voting yes or no on a budget that if you don't carefully review, once you vote and you accept that, it's your budget. So yes, I think we should go through every single item. We do review it. We do go over the different items. Some of the items are very, very put together, where you'll get benefits and pay on one line. And I would like to see even more breakdown.
Okay, Ms. Akins, we have a 1 and a 6.
1.
Would you see, let me get this correct here, it's pretty long, and if you need me to repeat it, I'll be glad to. Would you see any potential conflict of interest if there was an effort to move the school's accounts from UCB, since the Assistant Superintendent of Schools sits on UCB BSB's Blairsville Bank Board?
Good question, especially since I'm on the board of directors of the bank as well. I guess I would need to know how involved the assistant superintendent is in the creation of the budget. And what kind of, whether any other outside influences affect his decision.
Anyone else like to respond to that? Okay, all right. Now we have our final question. Ms. Byers, number 6 would be
Yes,
yours.
I'll take number 6.
I don't even know why I was looking at it. It's getting that time of the evening, right? Okay. What is your position with regard to the future of Woody Gap School?
Very good question. A lot of people don't realize I actually attended Martins Creek, which is right across the line. There was 13 in my 7th grade class. And my parents moved me from there to Florida. And I went from 13 in my 7th grade class to over 300 in my 7th grade class. It was very traumatic. However, I was the best diagrammer that they had. And I went from 13 kids in my class to a gifted class. So you can get a quality, good education at a small school. We need to allocate the resources to give them every single opportunity to be successful. I personally feel that such as, we've got to put more time and put, teachers need to be hired for there and told, this is the school you're going to be at. This is not a stepping stone to come to Union County. And get the requirements a little higher over there.
Anybody else like to respond to that?
I would just like to first say that we have an amazing administration in the Woody Gap School. Once we get, like Ms. Byers said, the teachers who get into that school, and it's their job to teach those students, that school's going to stay there as long as that school's been there. And we cannot take the risk of shutting that school down and trying to transport students. That mountain, I don't know if some of you may have not been blessed enough to travel across that, but that's scary. I used to work for Zaxby's. I was the catering manager, and one of the teachers who was in charge had me bring food to them, and just in the chicken van, I thought I was going to die.
Woody Gap is a unique community. I don't have an answer for changing anything. I think anything done would need to involve the community, the parents over there, and it needs to be something real slow and sure, because we don't want to mess up the situation.
I think objectively, or with a common sense approach, you have to see that there's an expense, obviously, in Woody Gap, and whether you bus kids or you have this infrastructure. However, that school system is at the foundation or a foundation of that community. So I think that you've got to factor in the people that live there, the students, the families that have been there, what kind of impact that would have, not just financially on the school system, but also to the community as a whole.
30 seconds for everybody. If elected, what you're doing tonight is you're asking to serve and represent your community. You don't only represent the parents of these students, but also the entire community and the taxpayer base. Saying that, it's very important to have public commentary or public communication at school board meetings. Are you satisfied currently with the public's participation and able to speak to the school board members currently, however Union County is set up? And if not, would you make changes to public participation to hear from the citizens? 30 seconds, please.
I'm not aware of the problems at this point, so
I wasn't saying the problems, but the public communication are you satisfied with the rules of public communication with the school board at the meetings and the way it's handled, or do you see there needs to be participation?
The ones I have attended, I don't see a problem.
I feel that our school's doing a great job communicating what they're doing. I do know, since just this week I've spoken with a few people that I didn't realize this, and I'll have to look into this more, but our school board meetings have the open part, but then there's also that closed door part that a lot of our teachers are real confused about. You know, we can always, no matter how publicized we are, we can still always be better. You know, we have the board minutes listed in the newspaper. You know, I'm the age of Facebook. You know, if school has a Facebook form, I know our high school posts a lot on there. We can always do better.
I think there's always a challenge in getting people to participate, you know, in government activities in general. You know, we live in the age of technology. I think it would be one thing that I'd really like to see. I mean, I check the internet for everything. I know that our minutes are posted online, but I'd like to see an agenda posted online. I like to be prepared. I want to know what we're talking about, issues that are being discussed. And that's something that would be really easy to me as a citizen of the community, is to see an agenda online.
Well, being a current board member, I think we can do better in getting the information to the citizens before the meeting. I think Janet's idea of putting the agenda online is a great one. But I also, you know, we have to have the executive session because that's only discuss personnel, that's only discussing pay. But if I worked at the school, I would not want that to be public. However, yes, I think we could do a better job in getting more information to the people that attend.
Before we go into our final question, all the candidates were given these questions, and they have responded in writing. There are copies as you leave tonight, or they'll be posted on the website. All the candidates responded to the following questions. What is your reason for running for the school board? What do you see as your role as a school board member? How will you seek more transparency with regard to decisions of the school board? Should school board members be allowed to speak publicly about their vote if the board's decision is not unanimous? An executive session is allowed for limited discussion. Will you pledge to strictly adhere to those rules and cause anything not allowed to be discussed in executive session to be discussed in open meetings? Those questions were presented, and all of you filled those out and turned them back in, and they're available when you leave tonight. You can get a copy, or they'll be on the website. The Union County, this is our final question before we close, Union County Republican Party, along with the Tea Party of Union and Towns, created a question specifically for each candidate. So we'll start with Troy Collins. This question is for you. With your wife being an employee of the school system, do you think you should recuse yourself from any vote concerning personnel decisions or personnel salaries when you might receive a financial benefit?
Can you repeat the question?
With your wife being an employee of the school system, do you think you should recuse yourself from any vote concerning personnel decisions or personnel salaries when you might receive a financial benefit? And I think by saying that, they mean whatever decision you may make would benefit directly your wife. I think
If it affects my wife directly, I would excuse myself from the vote, yes. If it's involving her, yes.
you have full 2 minutes, but that's it?
Pretty much it.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody knew they had 2 minutes. The next question is for Jana Akins. Well, that's the way they wrote it.
Okay.
I'm out of order.
Okay.
I'm out of order. Do you see any conflict of interest by being a board member of UCB when the school system has so much of its money in UCB?
I think that goes back to what we talked about earlier with the day-to-day operations of the superintendent. The school board doesn't have the authority to direct what happens on a day-to-day basis. I think that's something that the superintendent would control. So as a school, I'm sorry, a board member at United, no, I don't see that that would be a conflict of interest.
Okay. Next question, Cindy Byers. Legislation is being considered that would call for all SPLOST to be ended when they expire and a 1-year cooling off period before they could be voted on again. As a board member, could you support this legislation?
Well, I feel, I have mixed emotions about that. Because if we had a growth spurt at school where we desperately needed some changes, then that cooling off period could be a vital time of moving forward. However, at the point that we are at right now with a 1 year it hurt us, no, not really. We've went pay as you go, so we're only building once we have the money. We're being very good stewards of the money. And I think you can tell from the Fine Arts Center to the upgrades at the primary school, which were desperately needed. We tried to, we did different surveys to give parents and the community input as far as what the priorities were, and we were following the community's, what they said their priorities were and what we wanted to do first. So, again, it's mixed feelings. I personally, if we had a building with some major issues we needed upgraded, I would definitely not want that cooling off period. And since it does affect the whole state, not every area in the state has managed their money as well as we have. I'm just going to be very blunt. So, but it would not be detrimental for here at this point.
Okay, thank you. Now, Andrew Smith. You indicated that your reason for running for the school board is to represent our student body as well as our faculty. How would you address the concerns of the taxpayers who believe your first priority is to represent their interest over faculty and students?
As I've said many times throughout this evening, when it all boils down to it, it is really about that student. It's about that student's achievement. It's about that student's success. Our taxpayers are very important to our school, our community, and our system. When it comes to making the financial decisions that the school board is oftentimes required to make, I am, if a board member, in charge of being a good steward of your money, just as I'm in charge of being a good steward of my own personal money, my own personal budget. At no point would I want to say, we're going to do this for the kids, and cost the taxpayers a lot more money. But as I mentioned earlier, it's about that hours of microscopic looking into everything we can do for all of our options. When I was a senior in high school, our board was faced with a tough decision, and it was to either add furlough days to our teachers or to raise the taxes. But gratefully, our school board came up with a different conclusion. They did neither of those. So they did, in the long run, what was best for our students, what was best for our teacher, and ultimately what was best for the taxpayers. And I feel that having the love I do for our students and having the coworker relationship I've had with the teachers and then being a taxpayer myself, I'll be able to weigh all of those things equally.
Okay, candidates, now we have 1 minute closing statements. We want to start with Troy Collins. Number 1 minute closing statement.
I would really appreciate your vote. I feel like I could do a good job on the board for the taxpayers, for the students, and for the faculty. I've been in the system, like I said, for 30 years, and roughly 30 years, and I do know a little bit about the inside of the schools, how they work and everything. I think that would be a benefit. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Andrew Smith, 1 minute to close.
Growing up, I lost my mother, and then also at that time, I had a father who was addicted to everything from marijuana to meth. I was raised by very great, godly grandparents, but they still couldn't offer everything to me as a parent would. Going through school, my teachers were there for me when I didn't have a mom. My band director was there And then my friends were there for me. I want to be able to give back to all those who gave so much. Oftentimes in life we're asked if we would die for somebody, but the greater thing is to live for someone. And I choose to live my life for these students, these teachers, and you, the taxpayers.
Okay, Ms. Jenna Akins, 1 minute to close.
I think that the school board and the decisions of who to choose to be on the school board is critical. I mean, even if you don't have children, the impact that our children have on our community and in the future, it's profound. I mean, we need an educated society. We need successful people in our community. We want these individuals to grow up to be successful and to live, in our community. I think that I am uniquely qualified to serve. I'm an attorney here in town. I operate a business. I've operated the business for several years. I have 3 children, as I said earlier. I volunteer. I'm a coach, a basketball coach, a softball coach, and I'm conservative. I'm fiscally responsible, and I believe that I have the experience to be a school board member, and I hope that you'll consider voting for me in May.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cindy Myers.
3.5 years ago, I decided to run for school board, and I'll be very honest, I was scared to death, but I wanted to give back to a school system, to a community that had done so much for me and my family. It has been an honor for the last 3.5 years to serve this community, and I want to continue. Day to day, the running of the school is the superintendent, but the board members, they make so many decisions that affect every taxpayer. Whenever I get my tax bill, and I'm just like everybody else, I cringe, trying to say, okay, how am I going to meet this? And then you go into that board meeting and you know the decisions that you made directly affect each person's budget. It does affect how I vote. And I think I've proven over the last 3.5 years, I research the information I'm given, I study it, and then I vote my conscience. It's been a pleasure serving this community, and I hope you will keep me for another 4 years. I did want to mention, too, I'm not running against 2 of these people. I'm just running against him.
As I heard a presidential campaigner say last week or 2, I'm not running against Ms. Byers, I'm running the position of the school.
Okay, thank you, candidates. Let's hear it for our candidates tonight. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve the community. We'd like to get the candidates. I don't know what final announcements they want to make. I want to get the candidates down here for a picture, but before I leave, I want to thank you guys for having me here. I've enjoyed this so much. I am the CEO of FetcherNews.com. I will have this on the internet tomorrow. You'll be able to go to FetcherNews.com, click on Union County, and Election 2016 button. It's real simple. This will be up there tomorrow, this video, so you can share with everybody in the community. Also, a quick little programming note. I do a live show 8 to 10 a.m. every morning, FetcherNews.com, FYN-TV, but it comes with a warning, okay? Be careful before you go on there. I might get a little opinionated, all right? But again, thank you for having me tonight, and I want to thank Dale. You worked so hard, you and Pat and all of you that were involved. You did a great job putting all the questions together and making this work. Thank you guys very much. Republican Party and Tea Party, thank you.